Hello and welcome to our Cyber Spotlight series featuring Bosch. Today we have with us Sean Murphy and Jim Kasparek with Bosch. Sean has been the North America Marketing Director for Video Security at Bosch for the last year. Prior to that, he spent 6 years developing and marketing processors for the video security market, plus served as a video analytics advisor at Texas Instruments. Jim has been with Bosch for 18 years and in the security industry for over 20. While with Bosch, he has held various positions from technical support, product manager, and key accounts. In today's 30-minute session, Jim and Sean will be answering key questions for integrators and vendors regarding the Bosch cybersecurity market opportunity, targeted buyers, messaging, and how to partner with Bosch. The goal of this session today is to help you qualify opportunities and set up potential partnerships. My name is Kim Garcia. I am the Director of Marketing here with PSA Security Network, and I will be moderating the session today. Just a few quick logistical items before I hand things over to Sean. If you have any questions throughout the course of the presentation, please go ahead and type them into the question panel, and we will have time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. If throughout the presentation you have any technical difficulties, we will also be monitoring the chat window and do our best to get you back up and running and should you run into any problems. So with that, I will hand it over to Sean.
Thank you very much, Kim, and thank you everybody for joining us. PSA has been gracious to host this series, and I think it's an important one. I think cybersecurity has been a topic that over the last couple of years has really hit home with a lot of our customers and become something of not only a problem, but something that they're really looking for some unique solutions for moving forward. So I think this series is really a great thing for us to be part of. I'm going to be the main speaker for the majority of the presentation, but Jim is also online, and as he's the PSA National Account Manager, will be able to help us address questions at the end. So without further ado, let's jump into the meat of the topic. I do want to take just a minute at a time, really, for you guys to level set. I know you've probably, if you've been on a few of these presentations, have probably gotten something similar to this in the past. But I want to make sure that anybody new or anybody that's been has a level set of what we mean, especially when talking about cyber and a little bit deeper level of data security. So these are some common things that people mean or associated with cyber attacks. Getting access to things people aren't supposed to see, disrupting service and taking down websites, taking down ways into different systems. Malware, it's a huge topic. It causes lots of problems, viruses inside the systems. And then really just having any type of unauthorized or inappropriate use of systems, either from external or internal sources. And then the changing of the system in the way that it works without the system owner's knowledge. All of these things encompass really what a cyber attack is, and this is the things that we're going to talk about, trying to minimize the ability for people to gain on our customer systems. And then really trying to take this one level deeper is the data security. This really means, protecting things like the data that's there, the databases that we have from any type of destruction or altering that we have. If you think about it in terms of security, and you think about it in terms of our customers and the reason that video security typically exists today for our customer base, it's because they want to be able to use this product in a chain of custody or as evidence later on. If you can't verify and validate that this has not been tampered with and really give a chain of custody to the police, you're not going to successfully be able to do the #1 job that our security systems are meant for. So this is a huge concept, and this is really what we take to heart because people use this information both for criminal activity or protection against that type of activity, but they also make business decisions off of it. And so there needs to be a development of trust in the system and that they believe in what they're seeing. And I'll come back to this trust topic a little bit. But okay, so now that there's a general level set across everybody, let's really talk about why do we care about in this industry. Probably everybody on this session, and myself included, has seen tons of statistics across their time in the industry about what types of attacks happen, how many there are, These are just a few of the spotlights from 2014. I'm sure we'll get another set of them at 2015. But it's important because there's a lot of them, right? 55,000 advanced attacks across the globe. These aren't the kids in their basement playing around. These are actually coordinated attacks. That's a huge number. 400,000 new malware variations per day. There's a little bit of a definition of what you mean by new variation. But if a cold or a human virus were to mutate this quickly, could you imagine the difficulty of trying to keep up with it? So just kind of put that in perspective a little bit. So, at a 3,500% increase in attacks and malware over last year, it's massively growing, and that's just the trend that you need to know. What do our customers really care about? How is this going to affect their business? If you take the 4 largest economies in the world, the U.S., China, Japan, and Germany, it's roughly a $350 billion problem that we have. That creates a lot of things. It's definitely real, right? It's definitely a growing threat, and these are some serious dollars that we're talking about. What does that mean for us? Well, it's a very quickly evolving topic, so there's no static solution that you can really go after it with. So in this case of very high value and constant change, creates an opportunity for people like us to provide products and services to meet the customer's changing needs over time. And so there's really a whole market for us here to go after. And these numbers are important to customers because they're going to set their budgets for the types of services that we want to provide, the products we want to provide, based on where they see the threat. It's the old risk analysis. So this is still a very important number and topic, and I know you guys have seen it. There's lots of different data out there, and you can pull from wherever you want. But it's important to impart that to your customers as you're talking through this. So what does this really mean for everybody that's on the call today? Bosch offers a pretty scalable solution for your security customers, and you can really kind of map it to any type of customer that you talk to. What do I really mean by this? We have a huge portfolio of cameras, and we already offer quite a bit of stuff inside of the cameras that's basically gratis. It's free. It's included in the background. For instance, and this might be some of the best kept secrets that we don't publicize, and one of the reasons are we don't want to start boasting like crazy because that just causes undue need for people to try to go target our stuff. But every piece of firmware that we have is been developed is constantly tested under vulnerability testing. We download new malware virus versions every day. They get added to the system. Every time we release new firmware product, it all gets tested and updated. This by no means has any type of meaning that we guarantee that it will be 100% not affected by anything that's out there. But we do have a very vigilant testing staff that makes that happen. Even one level deeper, when we build our products, we have a very sealed way that we source our components and verify that they get to us and they don't have any unintended software or backdoors or anything like that. So having a chain of our suppliers that match the needs that we have in a technology space is very important to us. If you think of Bosch, we don't only do security, we do a lot of other industries. So this is required for not only security industry for us, but also the automotive industry that we play in. So we get to utilize that and pick that up along the way. Another big thing is we take a limited memory approach. So we only release on the cameras enough memory to be able to run the specific firmware that's meant for that product. What that really does in the background is if somebody was able to gain access to one of our cameras or one of our recorders and then tried to install extra software of any kind, whether it's a virus or malware or anything else that you don't want to be on there, they wouldn't be able to set aside any type of memory for the working program. So that means that even if it does get installed, which is very unlikely, they wouldn't be able to run because it wouldn't have enough resources to make that happen. So it's another way that you kind of get an extra layer of security, making things difficult. And one of the other ones that I think really kind of plays into our strategy is we typically use non-standard OSs across the board. A standard OS would be more like something you would think of as probably like a Windows OS or a Linux, which is more popular in the embedded space, which we're typically talking about here. By using a non-standard OS, it basically doesn't give insight to outside people of how our operating system works, and there's no public definitions of it. All of the code is more privately held. And so without that visibility into how the gears and everything work inside of the software, just defining something to be able to attack that is very difficult. If you look, in the world, less than 5% of the technology our products that are out there uses a non-standard OS. So if you're going to spend your time as trying to do something malicious, you tend to focus your time where you can get the best return on your results. It's not in the non-standard OS category because A, it's really, really difficult since you don't have a lot to go on, and it's just not going to take down that many different opportunities out there because there's not a lot of products with it. So it's another level of I guess, buffer that you have against these types of attacks. And most people see it as a smaller thing, but I think it's an important thing, is we use our own proprietary IP stack. The way that we interface with an IP network is a little bit different and doesn't use the exact same stack that everybody else does. It allows us some custom ability that we need, and we use this for an efficiency standpoint. But again, it's an unknown element to a vast majority of the world, making it more difficult for them to try to do anything. So you just take those 4 elements that are available across the board on our products, and really what you're seeing is an incredibly difficult environment for any potential attacker or somebody with malicious intent to gain access or to do anything with our products. And that's pretty much standard, free, no work required to make that implementation. So we have a whole portfolio of products that can do this behind the scenes. What does that mean? It means that out of the box, these products are much more secure than your standard average delivery. You combine all these things together, it just makes things really, really hard. Now, on top of that, as integrators and installers, when you go out there and you're setting up these systems, you have the ability to do the typical security type of things. We take a little bit different stance, or maybe not the same stance as everybody. We focus on making the installation of the product very easy. So we don't require a default password for it to get in. We have like Telnet open if that's a way that you want to access the system initially to get everything set up. Those type of things are by default in the method that would give you the most flexibility as an installer. So you can map out the way that you want to go attack the problem. But it also gives you the complete ability, just like everybody else has, to set passwords, to set very strong passwords, which is what we highly recommend, to disable any of those vulnerabilities and turn them off, things that you think that would give backdoors or holes into the network that you have. We don't want that to happen, and we definitely expect all those changes to happen. But the idea is that you can have the simplest installation very quick, from installing a camera to setting it up on the network to getting it working the right way, and then the next step that you go is making sure that the network is secure before you move on. And it creates a little bit more opportunity that we can talk about a little bit later. One of the other things that is a little bit more unique about Bosch is that we also use iSCSI streams and recording. It's available with all of our Bosch storage and also our partners. I think in the PSA network, Milestone is a very big partner as well as OnGuard. And of course, it works with the Bosch DMS as well, the DDMS. If you wanted to pull in other third-party cameras in the network as well, we offer a video streaming gateway. But why does this really matter to you? It's another level of security. There's a lot of things that iSCSI, it has its own benefits. It's definitely got some benefits when it comes to robustness. But it's also storing in a non-standard format and transmitting data in a different type of format. So if somebody were to get onto the network, unlike a simple common video file, let's take like an AVI, you find it, you can see it, you click on it, it doesn't require any special player or anything like that to translate it, and you can immediately see what's there on the servers. So in this case, with the iSCSI streams, if you get there and you manage to get through all these different levels of networking stuff that we have, having the ability to actually look at the video that sits there, if you can get to that point, is very difficult because it's not a standard player. You would have to figure out a way to translate it back to something that you can use as a see. So you can find all these. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah. One of the other, this is Jim with Bosch, one of the other benefits of that, because everybody is concerned about stored video, because the vast majority of what they do with it is post forensics information. And with an iSCSI drive, if for whatever there is a network breach and somebody is trying to scan for the hard drives and storage and all this other stuff to take a look at, with the iSCSI drives do not show up in a normal scan. If they are found, they show up as an unformatted Windows format drive. So unless they have a ton of different expensive tools, they wouldn't even be able to see that drive. And if they saw the drive, they wouldn't be able to do anything with it anyway. So that's just one of the additional features of the iSCSI, as far as also failover redundancy and recovery are three of the other really strong features for that format.
Jim, that's an excellent point too. And it also goes to mention there is the ability, and I kind of label it under typical security, but the way to set up our cameras that if somebody does access the network, that the cameras themselves won't show up either if they go to scan and kind of hunt around to see what IP addresses are there. So you combine that with the iSCSI and our cameras, and then now you have basically somebody looking in the dark with no flashlight trying to figure out what's going on in the system. It's the old security adage of, the people that tend to get attacked are the ones that, look the easiest, because it's a return on investment for a crook too, right? We use it as a business term, but it means everything for everybody else. So you take all these different features that are available. Some of them are standard, some of them, require a little bit different architecture to work with, and you have the ability to do a lot of secure things. This allows you to kind of customize and create different installation services based on what your customers need. You probably all have different customer bases, and they have a little bit different needs of what they're trying to go after. So you can kind of give yourself different levels. In addition, no matter what you set up the network to be in with during installation, because of all the things that I talked about and how quickly this is all evolving and changing, you're still going to need to go in and maintain that. What does that really mean? That's an RMR situation, right? And so you're going to have to go back in and say every whatever the right frequency, and make sure everything's up to date. Make sure that they haven't changed anything. Their needs haven't changed as they go through security. And that's really a huge benefit, I think, for this customer base for PSA is, you set up the system, you can set up a different level of security based on the customer's needs, and then you can even go back in at a regular maintenance period and to make sure that they stay on top of everything that's important to them. And we can talk more probably after the call or specifically your customer base, exactly what that means. But it's a huge benefit. It's basically a service contract, and I think it's really important for this type of customer to understand that it's not a once and done. This is something that's going to have to keep going and evolving over time. So speaking of that, what do you do when you get in front of a customer, right? What are you going to ask them? It's actually a pretty simple set of questions that you can start off with, and depending on their answers, it can go to very specific things. But you start off with, how secure is your network? And I even kind of start that out with a little even more basic. Is your video security network the same as another network? Do you piggyback it with something else? Typically, you probably wouldn't find it as their standard network, but in small installations you might. But they may be using point-of-sale data and their security network at the same time, since the point-of-sale data stuff is so small. Well, that's very valuable information that you're now putting on this network, and you need to understand how secure it is. One of the things that I've found is kind of useful, even if they do believe that their network is fairly secure, is like, oh, well, that's a great thing, but have you ever had an instance where you've had any viruses or malware get on your network? Because that's a hole, and it can be essentially what happens is a huge hole. So maybe it opens their eyes up a little bit that they may need to take a look at that. The other one is, if somebody was able to get into your network, what could they find? Right? So the question is how do you store and how do you record, and what format is the video in? So if there was somebody, and it could be, keep in mind, some of this could also be internal, was able to get to the video recordings, what does it look like, and what would they be able to do with it? This goes back to what Jim was saying too about the chain of evidence. What does it look like when the drive is discovered to a lot of different people? And then the third question is, when you're getting components or products for your system from different vendors, how secure is their manufacturing process? You know, when they deliver the product to you, can you be without a doubt sure that it's not going to make your system worse than it was before just inherently? You know, there is a common thread. If you were to pull, let's just say, a commercially version of Linux operating system off the internet today, there's a large percentage of those that already have unintentional malware loaded into them. In addition to that, they also come with a slew of backdoor holes that are available for access that the common public knows about because they've been found previously. So that's just one example of the questions that probably should be asked to your customer, and depending on how much they care. You know, if they don't really care, they're not going to be willing to spend money on it. But you know, show them what that could do to their system. Even if they were able to get through the first 2 questions really well, they add one more component onto their system, and very quickly the first 2 components will change their answers. So you want to be very careful when you go through that. And so bringing that into probably maybe what's the more important thing that we want to start pushing towards is more of the data security here. You know, this is what I kind of mentioned earlier was really an important topic for us, is making sure that everybody can believe that the data that's on their video security system is, you know, basically untampered with and also inaccessible. To really do that, to do it well, there's 4 main elements. You've got to create trust on the network, make sure that everybody, and I say everybody in this case, each piece of the components that are there and the authorized users all have trust that they're the right person, right? And then you have to make sure that the data that flows in between them is secure. And then ultimately, I think as a person or a user to be part of that component, but really the right users have the right access, and you can ensure that that's going to happen correctly. And then the fourth component is a bit unique. It's making sure that we're keeping pace with the industry standards. The industry is actually moving pretty quickly on this topic, and there's a lot of new things that are going up. Most of them are very beneficial for doing the things that are above this, right? You know, one of the things that's called out here is the PKI, which is the public keys that we would be using, and that's a big component of how do you build each one of these. If you think about it, just in the first thing of trust, all of our cameras and recorders have a trusted platform module on them that has the ability to actually hold keys, and we have the ability to do in-house certification. We also support third-party certifications, or certificates. That allows us to know that every component on there is a trusted component. In addition, for the securing of the data, we have signed streams and recordings. That's an option as well. And you can also do encrypted video, audio, and metadata, and even serial communication back and forth. So knowing that what's flowing back and forth in the system is actually what you intend it to be and it hasn't been tampered with is really important. And then knowing that the right user is there, we have a very flexible management system that we use. If you guys have used you know, our BVMS or some of the other stuff as well, the rights and access to camera and storage privilege is important. Coming in 2016, we'll support the third-party solutions like Microsoft Active Directory. That'll be a big one. Also coming soon, you know, third-party KPIs like SXI is going to be coming. I believe actually earlier in this series, probably Darnell Washington, I believe, gave a presentation over SXI and their ability to do this type of information back and forth and doing trusted keys. There's a couple different levels that you would have. Some of them are federal government associated, some of them are just business associated. But it is a very good way to secure your data, and knowing what you want is actually going to be on the different components of your network. So I walked through a lot of different things, and I think you're probably all scratching your heads and saying, okay, I get it, Bosch has a lot of different options. You get a lot free with the Bosch stuff that comes along anyways. I have the ability to now adjust how I want to install my products depending on what customers need. And yeah, there's a need for maintenance. What does that mean for how do I push this to my customer base? This is just a sample structure, you know, of an idea that we've seen to be successful with some of the customers before. You know, there's one thing of I'm going to install and listen to you. What type of video security system do you need that meets your business needs, right? Is it just security? Are you trying to also do business analytics along with it? There's a lot of different things. So that's the one integration package, getting that system up and working, and that's what I would call in this case kind of a basic install maintenance package. You need a video security system either for true security or other benefits that come along with it. Then as an add-on package to that at install, doing different levels of cyber or data security or both to be as a component of that. It's up to you and your customer base and who you service what is a basic versus an advanced. Is the basic just the normal setting the passwords and taking care of making sure that all of the default settings are in the correct space, disabling telnet and that type of stuff, or do you go to a different level? All the way up to, and maybe you have multiple levels in between here, to the true advanced level where you take the path of the iSCSI. You are also using, keys along with everything to make sure that the entire network and data is trusted. That type of level. Are you doing automatic updates along the way? How open, how closed, closing ports, opening ports. There's a lot of different options there that you can kind of check off the box. And let's be honest, at some level it gets to be truly custom, but I think you can at least do 1, 2, or 3 different levels at the install level, what would make sense for your customer base. And then the other one is, and this is probably the most important and probably the most lucrative, really, is the maintenance package, right? You sit down with them and say, okay, based on your needs, based on how important this data is to you, based on what you risk to lose, let's think about how often we should come back up and make sure that you're, up to date and basically future-proofing the system for a long time. And this reoccurring maintenance program, I think, is really the key gem of how you guys can make a lot of money. So I wanted to end it there and kind of throw it out for questions for the group. I know this is a lot to digest, so there's definitely the option to contact us later. Probably the best person would be to go directly to Jim, and we have his email address here as well. So Kim, I'd like to, I think, open it back up to questions.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Sean. We've got just time for a couple of questions here that came through. So the first one is, are your solutions difficult to deploy?
So Jim, do you want to hop on that one?
Sure. The simple answer is no. So the same camera that you would install for a basic small to medium business that really doesn't have any issues with data security, and they just want expedience, you can use that camera that's quick to install on another job, or that same type of camera on a different project where now they do want data security. So you could use the same camera for a simple or a complex job, and it's no different than what you would do for traditional computer security. Your passwords, you can get a depth just from passwords to disabling a couple different things all the way up, and it's very well outlined in our documentation, as well as we have webinar, YouTube videos on how to do some of this stuff, and then we also have training that's available for it. But no, it's not difficult to deploy at all.
Okay. And last question here: if people would like a deeper technical explanation of how to implement the features you were talking about, where can they go?
I would recommend that they start. Go ahead, Sean.
I was going to say, I'd probably recommend that there's quite a bit available online just to take a quick browse around. But because they can be kind of unique to each person's scenario, I wouldn't hesitate actually to reach out to Jim in an email, and we could kind of go a little bit deeper. Does that sound about right for you, Jim?
Yeah, you can always start with me, and then from there I can find the appropriate assets and personnel to help out depending upon the type of deployment and situation or information that's required.
And as Jim said, there is a lot of material available online or in different documents. So we do know that it sometimes can be daunting trying to get the right one. So definitely ask for help if you need to.
Okay. It looks like that's all the questions we have time for today. If you would like to take a look at this presentation again or pass it along to other people in your organization, we will have a recorded version of it posted on our website soon. You can find that by visiting psasecurity.com. That's psasecurity.com /education. And I'd just like to say thank you very much to Sean Murphy and Jim Kasperick of Bosch. Their contact information is posted here for questions after the presentation. And please visit our website, again, just to make sure that you're leveraging all that PSA Security Network has to offer. On our homepage, you can access our future webinar events, this recording coming soon, additional education offerings, and business solutions. And this concludes our presentation for today. Thanks and have a great day.